This review has been made possible by Toyota of Naperville. As you know, Toyota has tons of brand new Toyotas available for purchase, but did you know that they also have a remarkable selection of used cars? Head on over to toyotaofnaperville.com and look through hundreds of used cars for sale right now.
Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2015 BMW 228i XDrive. Up front is a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4 and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission.
This video is sponsored by CarMarshal.com. If you'd like to support the channel, click the link down in the description below. CarMarshal.com advertises for over 100,000 vehicles across the US.
But before we get back to that, I want to put a question out there of how many all-wheel drive coupes do you guys know of? Obviously the R35 GTR for sure, Audi TT, sure, but I don't know of many other coupes, two-door cars that are all-wheel drive as well. And so I want to let that question fester a little bit while we get on with the review. But let's get back to that 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4. Well, essentially it's the same that BMW's been putting into a lot of their vehicles. The X1, the X2, Mini Cooper uses this engine. Mini Cooper S, the new one, actually uses this engine. And actually, in Japan, you can find a 2020 Toyota Supra with this engine. If I were really in it for the clickbait, I would have made the title of this video All-Wheel Drive Supra. That's not the case, really. I mean, you could get a base model Supra in Japan with this 2.0 liter. It's not super sporty. It's not insanely quick. It's not blood-curdling. It's not toe-curling, but we're on the test track. Let's give it a good shot at a straightaway. Now, like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission, and again, BMW uses this in most of their products, and I like it a lot. It shifts pretty quick. It's not like a dual clutch. It's not like lightning quick. It's not like, but it's good. It's responsive. It's a modern automatic transmission. It's not going to give you any trouble. Last but not least, and I feel like the most interesting part of this car is the fact that this is the all-wheel drive version. So you can get the 228 in rear-wheel drive. Of course, the big M2 that is at the top of this range, which we'll talk about a lot at the end of the video, that's rear-wheel drive. But this is actually all-wheel drive. This little tiny coupe is all-wheel drive, and I find that really, really interesting. I feel like I just don't see that many vehicles in this sort of size and shape with all-wheel drive. And so, speaking of the all-wheel drive, it hasn't really given me any trouble. It doesn't have weird all-wheel drive quirks. It feels fine. It feels like any other car, but once you get into the snow, then you do get some extra benefits. All right, so we will put it up into Sport Plus, dynamic traction control activated. I'll get a little bit of window, but let's see how this all-wheel drive hooks. It hooks. It definitely hooks. And I think really it allows the driver to take full advantage of the all-wheel drive. If you notice from the start, I didn't rocket off the line, and that's really because of the boost. The boost did not hit until later. So that's why it was a little bit slower at the start, not because of the all-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive really hooks and just takes you where you want to go. All-wheel drive doesn't mess around with whatever direction you want to go. And sure, that means you can't do donuts. Well, you can in the snow. That's not really true. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two main gauges. On the left is my speedometer with fuel in it, and on the right is my tachometer. I've always liked BMW gauges. They're clean, they're simple, and they're easy to read. Most BMWs share the sort of same gauge setup. They're, of course, not the same gauges, but the very same design, and I like that a lot. Down in the center, I do have a little information screen giving the time, outside temperature, miles on the car, things like that. On the steering wheel, I do have paddle shifters, which is nice. Cruise control on the left, volume, voice commands, and phone options on the right. And overall, the steering wheel just looks really, really nice. I think it's a really great looking steering wheel, which makes me happy because it's one of the few windows you have, or connections really, to the rest of the car. So it should look nice, and it is. To the left of me, I just have my headlight switches, and then on the door, I have my window switches. Nothing really too crazy, although the door is finished in this really nice wood as well as brown leather. The rest of the interior is brown leather as well, so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I think it overall looks really nice, and it looks really classy. You know, especially for just a 228i, this isn't an M package, this isn't the M2. I think overall it just has a really nice quality to it. Getting into the center, we do have a now dated infotainment system. I mean, you have to remember, this car is 5 years old, and even saying that, it doesn't seem right. This car seems a lot more new, a lot more fresh, a lot more modern, honestly, than 2015. 2015 doesn't sound right. That's just weird, man. I mean, it's just weird. But the infotainment system, this is where you're going to start to notice that it is a little bit dated. This does not have a backup camera. This is before we were legally required to put backup cameras in all cars. So I have aux, I have Bluetooth and things like that. But if I go to the menu, you could tell it's an older version of what BMW currently puts in their cars. It's very basic. We can go to vehicle info here. You know, efficient dynamics. We can get some sort of acceleration and anticipation score. I mean, contacts, multimedia. You're not going to find Apple CarPlay in here. You're not going to find Android Auto. We still have a CD player. I mean, it's a very, very basic infotainment system, but this is, you know, 2015, 5 years ago. Infotainment systems were still just kind of coming into their own. I think they've been nearly perfected here in 2020, but 5 years ago, not so much. So I can't really hate on the car too much for having an outdated system because it's an older car. It's 5 years old. But down below that infotainment center, we do have our central locking, 2 heating and cooling vents, and our hazard switch. Then the CD player, which I'm not going to get mad at. It's 2015. CD players are fine. I don't understand why 2020 cars have CD players, but whatever. Then my climate controls, nothing really to note there besides the fact that I do have 3 different levels of heated seats for the front 2 seats. Then we have a little cubbyhole ashtray, cigarette lighter, cup holders, and then we come to the shifter. I used to hate this shifter. It's slowly grown on me. Honestly, I look at this shifter like I did the show Friends. I hated the show Friends until I was forced to sit down and watch it. And honestly, I liked it. I really liked it. So you just got to spend time with something to really enjoy it, really appreciate it. And I think that's the case with this shifter. I'm not saying I'm head over heels in love with this shifter, but I sort of understand it now. It makes sense to me now, and I hate it less and less. But off to the left of that shifter, we do have traction control off, and then we have our drive modes. So we have 4 different drive modes: Sport Plus, Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro. It also has graphics of the 2 Series in the center screen that sort of displays all of that. Really, really nice. Off to the right of the shifter, I do have my selector dial for that center screen, which I think BMW does a fantastic job with. I've always praised them. You know, it has great tactile feedback. It's very easy to use, very easy to see, stuff like that. This isn't quite as good as modern BMWs. I don't know why. The modern BMWs click a little bit more, but this is such a minuscule thing to complain about, that the scroll wheel doesn't click as aggressively as a modern one. So just don't even worry about that. And I actually do get a physical parking brake, which I like. I obviously wish that this was manual, but I do get a physical parking brake, and I like that a lot. Now, talking about the seats are chocolate, I want to say. I mean, I guess that's a good way to describe it. It's a brown interior, and honestly, for a car like this, I don't really mind. This feels a lot classier than, you know, a base model, and so I really like it. And honestly, I don't know, I just think the brown seats and brown interior actually work here. I'm normally not a fan, but I think it actually sort of works. Now, interestingly enough about the seat, though, is that it is heated. It is not power. Very interesting. I feel like very few cars have heat but not power. I feel like the power would come first, but no, this is a manual seat that has heating. But speaking of seats, reluctantly, we do have back seats. Let's do a back seat review. It's going to be a tight squeeze. All right, now you guys get to see firsthand why ooh, it's windy out here, personally hate coupes. I'm not the most comfortable back here. My head hits the ceiling, messing up my do. And I don't really get any features back here. I do have, I guess, armrests, but not really. And they're finished in the same chocolate brown of the seats, which is nice. I do have this 2 actually seat back pockets. Seemingly no center console. Yeah, no center console. It's small. It's small. This is where you're really going to see the size restraints of the chassis. But I'm okay with this as a driver. If you have a family, if you know you're going to take people around, get a 3 Series, get a 4 Series, get a whatever after this. Pretty much anything after the 2, so the 3, 4, 5, well, 6 a coupe. 6 is a coupe, and so is the 4. We'll just focus on 3 and 5. The 3 and 5 have a lot better room in the back. They are sedans, so that obviously comes with the territory, but they're not horrible. You can take people back here if you want. Not great, but there, if you need them, seats. Now we will actually take a quick look at the trunk because it is 22 degrees outside, but we'll hop back there real quick. It's quite literally freezing out here, but little sort of power outlet, super nice, some tie downs, little cargo net. That's it. Here it is. You happy? Are you happy? Now we gotta talk about the looks. I think this looks good. I think it's a decent looking car. I just think the M2 looks better, and we'll talk about that later, so I'll save that. But getting back to it, I like the look of it. And the biggest thing about this car, I guess really the littlest thing about this car, is the size. I think, personally, I want to go on record by saying that the 2 Series chassis from BMW, so the 228, the M2 competition, the convertible 2 Series, whatever 2 Series from BMW, they all share a chassis. This is the best size chassis you can get from BMW. I want to go on record saying that. The size is just so perfect. It's not too long, so it's still light, and it's nimble, and you know, for someone who doesn't have kids or doesn't really need a back seat, this is absolutely perfect. I mean, it's just so fun to throw into corners. I feel very connected to this car because of its size. Yeah. Woo! You know, it's just, I don't know why that is, that I build a better connection to a smaller car, but it really genuinely feels like, size-wise, it feels like an old BMW E30, so that the 80s BMW 3 Series. I've done a handful of them, 318s and a 325e. It feels like that. It feels like this light, little, nimble chassis. And the 2.0 liter really helps that out. It's a light, nimble, quick chassis. You know, this is honestly the perfect BMW for me, size-wise. I wish it had more power, which brings me to my final talking point, which is, if you want to buy, if you're looking at this review because you have your eye on a 228i, or you're looking at 228i's and you're sure this is what you want, and you're just wanting to see what it looks like before you go buy it, which is very popular with my reviews. People will say, oh, I'm going to buy this tomorrow. I just wanted to know what to expect. This is what you expect. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you stuck around, I like you. Because now I'm going to talk about why, in my eyes, I don't care about this car at all. Because there's a car that also exists called the M2. Now, I have not driven an M2 competition, and I know that that's vastly better. However, I did drive a 2018 BMW M2 in manual. I went to my local BMW dealer because I had to write a paper about something. And I was on my way home one day, and I just thought, what if I asked them for an M2? I love M2s. I adore the M2. With me, my brother, and my childhood best friend, we started a little racing league in Forza 7 based around M2s. I love M2s. They are hands down my favorite car besides RX-7s. I mean, I love RX-7s, but genuinely, if someone came up to me and was like, would you want another RX-7 or an M2? I think I would go M2. I just think overall, the M2 is the end-all, be-all, greatest performance car of our generation. I'm not kidding. It looks better. It drives better. It has a turbocharged inline 6. It has all the power you really need. It's light. It's nimble. It checks every single one of my boxes, and that is why you should spend the money on an M2 if you care any bit about performance. I already told the people who want to buy this base model 228i to sod off. And so if you're still watching, you might have some things to reconsider, because the M2, oh, the M2. Nothing in my mind beats out an M2. Nothing. There's no car I want more than an M2. And so that's why driving this, it's like downloading the free version of an app. You get a taste, but you don't get it all. I wish I got it all. But I digress. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Huge thank you to Toyota Naperville for letting me drive their 228i. I mean, it's a great car. Honestly, since I can't afford an M2, this is right up on the list. I don't know what else I really need from a car. I mean, the all-wheel drive even, it's great for the snow here. We're supposed to get 8 inches tomorrow. For me, because I don't need a back seat, this is it, man. But again, huge thank you, as I keep getting sidetracked, huge thank you to Toyota Naperville for letting me take out their 228i. They have tons of cars on the lot. They have a couple BMW SUVs, if that's what you're interested in. They always cycle through BMWs. I mean, they always get BMWs in. They're great cars. If you're not interested in BMWs, if you're not even interested in Toyotas, still check out toyotanaperville.com. They have tons and tons of used cars. They have like over 150 used cars, and they're always getting new stuff in. I mean, I really can't keep up with all the cool stuff that they get in. But I knew I had to drive one of these. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really like it. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.